Hello, good afternoon, and good morning and good evening to some. My name is Juliette Hall, and I am very pleased to be hosting today's webinar for Global Thinkers Mentors. During the last few months, many of us in the community have been gathering to explore topics drawn from the expertise of the Global Thinkers mentors and partners. And we've looked at a number of different topics of the external environment. We've looked at the role of sustainable finance and the emergence of knowledge economies. We've looked at how the pandemic is shaping the world in which we live today and how these factors impact our work, our lives, and our communities. But we've also looked at how the work that each one of you are doing impacts the world around us and how we can leverage this expertise to become even stronger leaders and more effective in impacting positive change in the world. For many of you, you've joined monthly and started to incorporate some of these very practical insights into your day-to-day routines and into the work that you do and the studies that some of you are engaged in. And some of you are joining for the first time today, so welcome. It is a fantastic topic and I am absolutely thrilled. Enhancing your digital mindset for the current world. Today, we're going to look at the technology revolution that's changing the way we live, we work, and relate to one another. And it's a great topic. Now, Global Thinkers Mentors program has been around since 2015, and technology has played an important role in connecting mentees with mentors, as you all know, who have been part of the program this year or in years past, where the online platforms that we use enable mentees to connect with professionals and really wonderful, accomplished leaders in other parts of the world, allowing us to forge relationships and in a very personal way, start to really seek guidance from our mentors, tackle challenges and help make decisions, celebrate achievements, and forge bonds that for many of you have really been meaningful in the work that you do and meaningful for the mentors as well. And we know technology can break down barriers and has the power to do some incredible things in solving the world's problems and advancing our society towards a more inclusive and peaceful world, which is something that we all hold together dear to our hearts as part of the Global Thinkers Forum and mentoring program. But we also know, and this is something we're going to hear from our fantastic speaker today, that having a digital mindset is absolutely crucial to be able to launch into technology that was going to really shape our future and have the ability to make change. But what are the essential elements that we need to have to foster a digital mindset? Well, what is a digital mindset? How do we use it to the benefit of making positive change? And do we know how to deal with a volatile and uncertain world? Today, we have the wonderful Fernando Salvetti with us to help address some of these questions. And he is not only an expert, a founder of LogosNet, an epistemologist, an anthropologist, and a lawyer who's created and co-designed eReal, an enhanced reality lab, which we'll learn more about and see through some of the images. But he's also a Global Thinkers mentor, which he has been for a number of years. And I have to say, and I'll hand over the virtual microphone to Fernando in just a moment, but he is really one who is a global thinker. And if we think about global connectivity and what it means to forge these links, Fernando's a great example. His work has gone across 5 continents, 83 countries, and hundreds of projects where he looks at, through his work, through publications, through consulting, a lot of different work that he's done, focusing on virtual and augmented reality, focusing on cognitive aids by artificial intelligence, visual thinking, different components of the technology. And one of the important factors in one of the recent books that Fernando has written is about Learning 4.0. How does education, how does mentoring, something we all hold close to our hearts, how does that play into the technological revolution? So Fernando, I welcome you and I thank you for joining us today. And we are excited to launch into this discussion today and hear your insights. Thank you.
It's me thanking you. It's a pleasure and an honor being with you. And allow me to jump directly on my desktop. So allow me to share my screen in order to disclose something that could be useful talking about together in order to have your questions, try to provide some answers. So let's start from here. And let's start from the three main pillars, because it is, in my opinion, a good way to start from the end. So the three main pillars about a digital mindset are not at all something related to technicalities, but our virtual teamwork, our cognitive flexibility, our network and matrix management, behavioral and cognitive attitude to manage a relationship and to sometimes survive, usually serve highly sophisticated organizational models that are part of our corporate life, if we are within a corporation or another organization, and generally speaking are part of our interconnected and global world. So first of all, digitalization is not a technical issue. It's also something related to technology for sure, but is first of all a frame of mind. Is first of all a way of thinking, a perspective over a world that is more and more interconnected. Digitalization means, first of all, interconnection, interconnected world, internet of everything. Thousands, millions of objects and of people interconnected. This is, first of all, from my perspective, digitalization. And growing a digital mindset is something that is a challenge for everyone, not only for those who are technologically oriented, let's say, or technologically minded, but each of us is in need to hone, to grow a digital mindset, because it's our world today and tomorrow as well. Let's jump within our first video. Couple of minutes. All is interconnected. This is our today's word. And digitalization means having the human beings at the center of the scene. Not the machines, not the robots, not the cobots that are highly sophisticated, the robots able to cooperate with us. It's not Siri, it's not Alexa, it's not a virtual assistant or a highly sophisticated robot at the center of the scene. Within the scene, there are the human beings, and the digitalization is interconnection. A big chapter within digitalization is Industry 4.0. Let's move a little bit toward Industry 4.0 because the key aspects are pretty well known today, at least as keywords: cloud, cybersecurity, industrial Internet of Things, additive manufacturing, augmented reality, big data and analytics, simulation, system integration in general, as well as robots. I already named them 3 or 4 times, in between robots and cobots. So let's take a look, a little bit, a deeper look about the digital revolution underway. Big numbers, billion, trillions, lot of zeros, not only 4.0 or 4.0, 5.0, as the Japanese government is starting to say since last year, but billions and trillions in terms of investment, in terms of internet connected devices and people connected to devices, billions of damages because cybercrime. This is the dark side of the digital revolution ongoing. Those are billions and trillions visualized as blocks. Keep in mind, please, because there are a lot of investments behind and needed in order to develop digitalization. And digitalization is really something more than the simple dematerialization of the documents. The materialization of documents, the transition from the analogical world to the digital world are part, but let's say a small part of our digital ongoing revolution. World Economic Forum is interesting as a source of information. We are cooperating with them and with a couple of big corporations from the energy sector in order to foster a digital mindset within young leaders. So We discussed a couple of weeks ago at Columbia University in New York, even if this year online and not in presence. Our ongoing project is a project named Leadership 5.0, because we are trying to connect the 4.0 industrial revolution and the 5.0 society that is within the target of the Japanese government. Japan is the first nation worldwide that is really trying to foster a society 5.0, means more inclusive, more assisted by artificial intelligence in order to have citizens enabled to be served better from both public bodies, public services, and private services and corporations in a smarter way, let's say. Is a debate ongoing, rising today in Japan and expected to really invest the major countries all over the world, or the smart, let's say, countries all over the world in a few months from now. So surf the World Economic Forum, because as a source of info, you can find a lot of insights. I'm not in a conflict of interest with those guys. I'm only a private expert working under the umbrella. I'm really convinced that they are performing a great job about the digital revolution ongoing, better than many other think tank, governments, universities, and so on. This is what we are partly already experiencing and living, and partly expected to live in a few years. Smart towns, smart plants and fabrics, robotics, cooperative robotics. This is a robotic arm. For instance, with some colleagues from Free at Chrysler Automobiles, we are developing a project about robotic arms, cooperation in between human and machines, to have also young learners understanding how to code and how to start a cooperation with machines. It's part of the STEM education programs that in countries like the US or Canada, but sometimes also within Western European countries, or Singapore and some other countries in Asia Pacific are delivered. So there are initiatives here and there that are connecting with 4.0, are really interesting, as well as there are bridges in between 4.0 and our common, sometimes still analogic mindset. Let's go further. Again, Japan, UNESCO Science Report 2030 is our next city or downtown scenario. Drones delivering parcels. Challenging, because there is the jam, not here in the photo, but in the real world. But this is part of a smart town. This is part of the digitalization ongoing. This is part of the Internet of Everything, because there are sensors in the drone, embedded within the drone. Sometimes there are sensors also embedded within the parcels, and all the sensors are interconnected and are allowing digital interaction in between the drone, the parcel, the receiver, the sender, the company that is managing the service, the public body that is managing the traffic, or the air control, and so on. This is an example from the 4.0 revolution. This is another example. Blockchain. What is blockchain? We are in need to open an encyclopedia in order to understand what is blockchain. Blockchain is one of the engines, let's say, related to our digital revolution. Allow me to say only that blockchain is a distributed ledger, is something based on blocks of information distributed within independent servers. And each server is managed by the so-called miners, people taking care of the nodes of the chain, people taking care of the blocks of the chain, people allowing to duplicate within different blocks inside the chain the same information, duplicating twice, 3 times, 4 times, or more times the same information means trusting about the veracity of those information, trusting about the truth related to those information. This is essential in order to allow business, commerce, but not only business and commerce, is essential to allow the tomorrow, sometimes already the today supply chain, to track food, to track the food chain, to be sure about where the bananas we are buying in a local market are coming from, because they are trackable, they are tracked, they are sometimes embedded with sensors. So blockchain is part of the digital revolution. It's really an important, a primary part. And I invite you, just in case, to take a look to some website, encyclopedias, Wikipedias, or articles provided by MIT or California Technological Institute. There are a lot of institutions, public and private institutions, taking care of blockchain and its evolutions. A lot of evolutions ongoing. So it's a big, big, big chapter about the digital revolution.
Devices and machines and everything we're building these days, whether it's phones or computers or cars or refrigerators, are throwing off data. Information is being extracted out of tolls, out of parking spaces, out of internet searches, out of Facebook, out of your phone. Every single thing that we do moves in digital trends. We're now collecting exabytes and petabytes of data, and we're looking through that data set using incredibly powerful algorithms to see what we would never see before. The whole world is being recorded in real time. The data that creates understanding and knowledge. We're beginning the age of collecting information from sensors that are cheaply ubiquitous, that we can process continuously, and we can actually start knowing things. So the more information we get, the larger the problems we see that we solve. Every powerful tool has a dark side. Every last one. Anything that's going to change the world, by definition, has to be able to change it to the world as much as good or bad. It doesn't work one way without the other. Now today, it's nearly impossible to be truly anonymous. We're going to make some really interesting questions of people's lives become more transparent. I think that's one of the key challenges of big data. It has so much opportunity for both good and for also really screwing up our system. I don't think it's an issue of climate change or health or jobs. I think it's all issues. What we're going to have to do is think as a community. There's so much chance to improve the quality of life. I think one of the most exciting things about data is that, it's giving us exercises. We're building this global brain that has these new functions, expanding upon our ability to perceive the world. This science is just a bit beginning. All kinds of data and information are inside the world we do every day. What really happens, we start collecting it, we start seeing it, and we start interpreting it. And that way, it's going to take us in directions that we can't begin to imagine. We're sort of just in the beginning of this big data thing. You know how it's changing, but you know it is.
The human side of big data is a short movie. Big data are another big chapter about digital revolution. We are surrounded by big data. We are immersed within big data. We are the makers of a big number of big data because our mobile phones, because our posts over the socials, because our choices. So we produce a huge amount of data. And there are software and infrastructures devoted to analyze, at least to clusterize big data, and to understand fluxes, waves, tendencies, way of thinking, way of living, ways of consuming resources, material and immaterial resources. This is part of the 4.0, big data. Visualizing big data is a challenge. Within corporations, within governments, a new job today is the data scientist, expert not only in captioning, analyzing, clustering big data, but also in visualizing, in communicating the big data to those that are not expert at all. Visualization of big data is really a challenge. It's something like the virtual back screen behind of me today. Big data are a flux. Big data have to be understood. Big data have to be clusterized. It's a job for those of you or for those that are friends of yours that are interested in those type of jobs, and for sure are a trend that within the digital world we are in need to understand. Like blockchain, like the internet of everything, like cobots, the collaboration in between human and machines, are all big chapters about the digital revolution. A small example, just to jump within a shopping mall. Magic mirrors, mirrors based on augmented reality. Augmented reality means overlaying virtual objects over the real world, over human bodies, over something from the real world. In this case, is a way to buy. Today with coronavirus is a good way to sell because sometimes there are issues with wearing and trying clothes. Is part of the digital ongoing revolution. Another example. This is an area classroom, the one from the Polytechnic School of Milano in Italy. Those classrooms are part of the solutions we are developing for the digital world. And we assume this is a part of the learning scenario of the near future, because digitalization could mean for educational institutions as well for corporate training, a new way to interact with content that may be at the same time real and virtual. Means, like in this case, transforming in interactive surfaces simple brick and mortar walls, thanks to sensors. The principle of the Internet of Things. Using sensors in order to allow something that in the digital world is not so strange, being at the same time virtual and real, within a classroom, in a face-to-face classroom, and interconnected remotely with other classrooms, and so on. This is the 4.0 from the educational perspective. And according to the Harvard Business Review, this is the time of continuous connection, the Internet of Everything, and this is the time of the cooperation in between humans and machines, cobots. Is a keyword in my intervention today, and is really one of the keywords for the digital revolution. From the technical side, but I'm skipping in a few seconds from a slide to another. Today we do not have to really deeply engage with the technical side, but those are a Raspberry or Arduino part of the core solutions. Those are, let's say, the engine, the hardware engine allowing the digital revolution, as well as those are the labels allowing the business related to the digital revolution. So the world is ready. The world is already working and going toward massive digitalization. We have the major part of the infrastructures, hardware and software, already there, already working. Those are the HoloLens, Microsoft.
Hey there, what's up?
I'm on assembly line 11. I've never ran this one before. I cannot get the RAM parade. I'm not sure what I'm missing.
All right, let's take a look at the machine real quick. All right, well, first let's take a look at the control screen there, if you would. Perfect. Let's put it in auto mode so we can check the safety curtain. We'll make sure the safety lights aren't interrupted or it's at least working correctly. So we're good. Put your hand in front of there. Oh, yeah.
All what is happening in this video is happening within the HoloLens. So there is multiple overlaying over the lenses of those guys. Think in a couple of years, telemedicine with the 5G telecommunication standard. So in a couple of years, we are expected in many countries all over the world to have telesurgery, really like in this video. Lot of tests are ongoing, but there is a dark side. Very quickly, let's jump with a professor from MIT within cyber insecurity.
We know that these Internet of Things devices are causing some problems. So this is a map produced by a company called Salvetti, where they scan the devices in the world that are unprotected, that they can make contact with them, for example, and they know they're exposed. And when they did a scan recently, there were over 1.2 million unique devices unprotected. So these are devices with the default password. And this has given a rise to significant attacks. So this is another one where teddy bears were given Wi-Fi capability. And so the idea was that the children could talk to their teddy bear and the parents could listen in on this conversation and even respond. But these were hacked. There were over 800,000 of these user accounts hacked, and people's personal details were captured by the crook.
Could be a dangerous word, like every and any word. So let's keep in mind that not only data scientists, but cyber experts, cyber security experts are professional positions and jobs highly requested, as well as a designer, multimedia designers with Unity or with Unreal 4, the graphic engines behind all the digitalized world. Those are some prices related to the crimes. I'm an old criminal lawyer, so sometimes I love taking into consideration this dark side of our world or of the moon. Please take a look and listen to this lady for 20 seconds. She's an hacker.
A hacking point TP750 rifle.
The TP750 is a computer-assisted, self-aiming, long-range sniper rifle.
We found a way to connect directly to the computer that's inside of it and change the same values, but in such a way that it doesn't show up on the screen. What we're doing now is we are connected to the back end, and we are changing the weight of the bullet, lining up to take the shot. And there we go, with the target on the left.
So they hacked, they are a couple, and they decided to hack a highly sophisticated weapon. This is part of the 4.0 scenario. So cybersecurity is highly advised and is a concern really worthy. Because the word today is this. The acronym is VUCA, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. Training for VUCA word is both for the military as well as for civil servants and private officers, executives, and the middle managers from big and mid-sized corporations. The organizational model behind the VUCA word is matrix management. Being part of a matrix means trying to understand very challenging scenarios and sometimes situations. Not so difficult, or better, very difficult and not so different compared with those very foggy scenarios, or very stormy and dusty scenarios. This is the VUCA word. VUCA word is with us since the 70s because it was originally the US Army trying to explore and to understand the VUCA word. The VUCA word is part of the 4.0 today. So it's one of the reasons why 4.0 is so challenging, so cognitively difficult to grasp with, because it's a highly complex world where system thinking is highly advised in order to try to understand that what is happening usually is not easy to understand. And those are, from a corporate point of view, the major part of the expected skills or competencies that people have to own in order to be part positively and proactively of our digitalized world. Not all those are really true skills. In my opinion, many of those are part of other skills, and the basic set is made by three: virtual teamwork, cognitive flexibility, network and metrics management. And you can figure out that we are approaching the end in a few minutes, because this was my very beginning today. Virtual teamwork. Even if you will never work virtually, you have to understand that today the world is mainly virtually interconnected, like us today. Means we are in need to foster our cognitive flexibility, to try to figure out something that is blurred by the dust, by the desert storms, by the VUCA world. The world needs systemic thinking to be understood a little bit. We need to perform scenario analysis because the old traditional planning-based mindset is not working at all today. So scenario analysis, so system thinking, those are the cognitive main assets for being part of the digital world. Networking and the matrix management. Managing a relationship, formally, informally, is tough sometimes, part of our task, if we wish to be part of a digitalized environment. A digitalized environment is, from the business perspective, or from the sales perspective, an XaaS world, everything as a service. All has to be, is a big trend, all has to be customized, and the whole has to be on demand. On demand business means matrix management as an organizational model, system thinking as a cognitive mindset, and lot of system integration, lot of interconnections. This is part of the 4.0, thanks mainly to the sensors, so thanks mainly to the Internet of everything. We can easily today, and is really today easier than in the past, interconnect things, measure what is happening thanks to an app installed within the phone, the smartphone of someone that is our customer, but that we do not know that is our customer because is directly served by another brand and not by our own brand. This is the complexity of the digitalized world and economy. Those are cuts from newspapers, mainly from the Harvard Business Review as a scientific newspaper. Digital ubiquity is part of our scenario. Virtual skills, even if we do not think to be in need to work in a team. And let's jump to our conclusion and let's open some time for question and answers.
Business as usual was often good enough. No more. Where we are going, good enough is dead. In a world where everything is connected, where everything is equally excellent, where performance is reaching perfection, there's only one space left to innovate in: you. Right now, you are a central point of the raging tornado of change fueled by digitization, mobilization, augmentation, disintermediation, automation. Well, the list goes on. Science fiction is becoming science fact. Think about self-driving cars or computers that can learn and think. The way we work will never be the same. The skills we need will be dramatically different. Winning or losing are now happening faster than ever before. So what's your response? How will you discover new opportunities in one of the most transformational times in human history? Are you driving change, or are you being driven by it? Disruption has become the new normal. When change is always gradually, then suddenly, well, things really have stopped happening gradually. This change is exponential. Everything that used to be dumb and disconnected is now wired and intelligent. Cars, cities, ports, farms, even our bodies will be wired with sensors and will talk to each other. These game changers are also combinatorial. They amplify each other, creating a perfect storm of change. Quantum computing fuels big data. The Internet of Things fuels artificial intelligence and deep learning, which fuels robotics. However, anything that cannot be digitized or automated will become extremely valuable. Human-only traits such as creativity, imagination, intuition, emotion, and ethics will be even more important in the future because machines are very good at simulating, but not at being. Yes, robots and software will do some of our work, but this will allow us to focus on things that cannot be automated. To imagine change squared, you've got to start engaging more with what might be, not just with what is. Immerse yourself in the immediate future, 5 to 7 years out from today. We need to go beyond technology and data to reach human insight and wisdom. Technology represents the how of change, but humans represent the why. The future is about holistic business. The opportunity is to be liquid, to learn just in time, not just in case, not single improvements, but complete transformation, not individual systems, but new ecosystems. Humanity is where true and lasting value is created. We will engage, relate, and buy things because of the experiences they provide, because of their transformative power. The future doesn't just happen. The future gets happening. The new way to work is to embrace technology, but not to become it. The future is in technology, yet the bigger future lies in transcending it. Let's live and lead from here.
Let's go to the
Wonderful.
questions and answers, and allow me to stop sharing.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Fernando. I think it's interesting, especially that the last clip, bringing everything together, talking about the future. And actually the future in a lot of ways is now. And having the digital mindset and the cognitive flexibility are things that we need to engage in and develop and enhance starting from this moment and building on what we've already done. But certainly, as you pointed out, sort of the things like ethics and imagination are those things that will fuel where we go using technology as a driver. So we've got a few questions and we've got just under 10 minutes. And there's a couple of themes. So perhaps we could start with one, and this is a combination of questions from Arwa and Vita. Thank you for those questions. It's really about how the technology transformation and digitalization affects inequity and discrimination and what that has to do. So the question is, will digitalization reduce the chances of inequity and discrimination? If yes, how? If no, what should be done to tackle it?
It's an interesting and very difficult to answer question. It depends on the national and international programs, both at a regional international level and at a true global international level. For sure, technology may deepen and deepen the space in between the most advanced and the others. Technology is an asset. It's both a material and an immaterial asset. Is worthy, means a lot of knowledge value related and embedded in technology. The richer are expected to become more and more rich richer and richer and richer again. The poorer and the poorer. So it's really challenging, and we need locally, nationally, regionally, and internationally, in my opinion, a new political leaders, because the ones that currently are on the scene, in my opinion, all over the world, with a few exceptions, are not able to understand or not willing to try to govern, not to regulate, to govern, and to try to keep under institutional umbrellas a lot of the trends. So now is the Far West or the desert, in my opinion. International institutions sometimes are founding regional or real international problems. Think the World Bank, think the Asian Development Bank, think the Arab Bank, and so on. The European Bank for Reconstruction and Development is still there, even if reconstruction after the Second World War is expected to have stopped many years ago. But there are a lot of inequalities. And think about broadband. There are places, one is Italy, where I'm from, where in many parts of the country, the broadband is not at all broad enough to support decent connections. So you cannot attend school lessons from home. You cannot sometimes upload something, a document, if you are remotely working, the so-called smart work today. Italy is among the top 8 or 10 Western European countries. So it's not among the real poor countries in the world or the real underdeveloped countries in the world. 30–35% of the Italian population cannot really jump on internet and surf internet the way they should do today, the 4.0 digital age. So I'm aware it's a big challenge. I do not have real answers. I'm only hoping that Global Thinkers Forums and mentors and some other international organizations will be able to hone a digital mindset within a new leadership class.
Mm-hmm. And it is really about the future leaders to bring the digital mindset to the forefront of how we operate in our communities, in our societies. And that's why the conversation for this group, I think, is more important now than ever before. And as you said, a lot of the leaders who are in place may not have that relevant mindset. What about the impact of technology on jobs, on employment? One of the questions was in the context of Africa specifically, and I know we don't have time to go into all the different geographies, but where in the example you gave in Italy, there's not necessarily the connectivity or in other places, maybe the flow in the jobs of technology. What is the impact that we could see?
The impact is both sides, on unemployment as well as on new jobs. From my perspective, even if we are expected, we as humanity, all over the world, to lose a lot of, let's say, old-fashioned jobs, we are as well expected to grow a lot of new job positions, both in the well-developed economies as well as within the developing countries. And sometimes also in the countries that are really struggling in order to find ways to develop. Because as in my opinion, ever happened and ever will happen in our history, past and future, all has to change. So change is a constant. And the part of the change are the jobs. Jobs have to change. Then issues could be related to the ways different nations are enabling or are not able to really protect job, let's say, the loss of the job and are enabling systems in order to allow working population to reskill and find the new jobs. So let's compare again two countries that I'm used to commute in between, Switzerland and Italy. In Italy, unemployment usually is pretty high, and institutions, public institutions, are not really so smart in both fighting unemployment and allowing people, unemployed people, to learn new skills, to reskill, to find new jobs. The percentage of re-employed people is historically low. In Switzerland, is historically very high, because in Switzerland there is a different system. Unemployed people are actively engaged in reskilling processes and are actively solicited in trying to find the new jobs. In Italy, usually unemployed people are not actively solicited. They are paid a small amount of money, really a small amount of money, but in my opinion, is enough to keep them many times with a passive attitude. Mm-hmm. In Switzerland, you have to demonstrate an active attitude. Otherwise, you will lose the program and the benefits related to a reskilling program. So it's, in my opinion, all about the way countries are able to put in place programs about lifelong learning and reskilling. Mm-hmm. This is my perspective as an educator. Mm-hmm. It's not the only one, but this is the way I'm looking through my glasses at the world.
Yes. Yes, and for this group of mentees who, as you know very well through your own experiences, yep, are really high potential leaders for the future, and many of them today leading in their own communities or projects, what would be some very practical guidance that you can give them as we come to the top of the hour as to what things that they can start to focus on, educate themselves on, participate in to enhance the digital mindset, to prepare themselves for this world?
System thinking, let's exercise and let's grow and hone your cognitive flexibility by system thinking. So let's say a simple exercise. Split a scenario in 3 sub-scenarios, the worst, the average, the best. Think about energy scenario within your region or within your town or at the entire world level, or think about healthcare scenario, or think about food and beverage scenario at a level that could be the local, the regional, or the international. And think in splitting in 3 the expected outcomes. So think the worst, the average, and the best. Scenario thinking is a wonderful way performed within Shell, for instance, the oil and gas company, since the 70s, but not only within oil and gas, is in order to hone and grow your cognitive flexibility, in order to prepare for seeing something that could happen. So hone your systematic way of thinking. Interconnect, be a networker. Talking to people, interacting with people, networking with ideas. Clusterize ideas. Could be a nice way. Digital revolution is underway, is undergoing. Digital revolution is first of all a mindset, not a set of technical skills. We are all part of the digital 4.0 landscape and the 5.0 society, not only because we are skilled, technically skilled, but because we are citizens of the world, of a highly interconnected world. So start from your ability to develop mentally interconnections, to grasp concept, cluster concepts, and so on.
Thank you, Fernando. And that's something we all hold.
Thank you.
It's been an absolutely fascinating conversation. And I think from the questions that are continuing to file through, we could be in this webinar for hours with you. So we'll have to do a 2.0 version of it to talk about the 4.0 industrial revolution and the 5.0 that we're also seeing. it's absolutely important for us all as a community to start to really focus on developing this cognitive flexibility and the digital mindset, because organization like this are really going to be key for the future. So thank you again, and thank you to everybody.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
And I'd love to invite everybody to make sure to join us in the next month's webinar, July 29th, with Rula Douglas, author and journalist, who will be looking at something which is really important for all of us, inner obstacles and how do we overcome them. So make sure you sign up if you haven't already. Have a great afternoon or a great evening, great morning, wherever in the world you are. And we look forward to continuing the conversations with the community. Thank you.
The best. Bye-bye. Thank you. Okay.